Welcome, Luminary. It's so lovely to have you here as we are approaching the final countdown of 2021. As we are entering our second to the last week of this pretty intense year, this is kind of a full culmination where we have actually a lot of big shifts right during this week. First of all, we have our Venus retrograde beginning. Later on that week, we have our beautiful solstice, some relief. And then right before Christmas on the 23rd, we have our third meetup square off between Saturn and Uranus. I know you are already feeling the pressure, and we're in for a little bit more. So tune in and I'll share all the things about our week ahead. Welcome to the Savvy Luminary podcast, Astrology for Entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Leslie Tagorda, creator of the Astrobrand Method, business astrologer, brand designer, author, and Aquarius boss woman. I help visionary spiritual entrepreneurs and impact makers like you illuminate and amplify your unique star powers so you can be the luminary you were born to be. Hello, Luminary. Thank you again for joining me. I hope that you are finding a spark, a glimmer of peace at this time of year. It's so interesting how we do this to ourselves with the busyness of the holiday season, and it just feels like things keep on piling on. And when is the proverbial feather going to break the camel's back? It might be this week. Honestly. So we have our Venus retrograde. There's a big thing. There's a bunch of big things that we're going to be covering today. We're going to be covering our Venus retrograde. We're going to be covering the beautiful glimmer of hope, the solstice, on the northern hemisphere, the darkest day, the longest night. And then we'll also be talking about breaking down our boxes and just seeing how we are at the brink with our Saturn Uranus square off that's really been effect for all of 2021 and will be also in 2022, but with a little bit more of a hope. So, I don't know about you. I'm feeling myself at the brink, like there's so many things so many obligations that we put on ourselves to complete. And of course, as an astrologer, I'm putting together all of the forecast. Natalie and Miller and I are still, pushing up against the clock to complete our moon rituals book before the new year. So many lessons learned, but we are right in the middle of it. And then just like globally, everybody is on the brink with this yet another variant, the Omicron variant, just like when we think that things can't get more difficult with COVID and how it's really all stretched us individually and collectively as a society. And then globally, like there is not anybody on this planet Earth that hasn't been affected by this, and how all of these like just layer upon layer upon layer, the hope and then the non-hope of things kind of like falling back into place, and hospitals and health workers and first responders, everybody just being so burnt out at this moment. All we can individually do right now is to kind of relax our own nervous systems, nourish our own emotional needs, and hope that it can ripple forward in our communities and in our families and in our businesses. So if you are joining me here today, I just really want to thank you, because I know that our time is precious. And so if you are listening here today, I know you are craving some insight as to what we have in store with the cosmos as all of these energies build. Now, if we can look back to this time last year, it seems like a flash. It feels like an eternity and everything in between. As we were approaching our 2020 solstice, we were getting ready for the great Saturn-Jupiter conjunction. There was a whole lot of culmination happening in 2020, and I believe, at least myself, I was looking forward to 2021 being like, things are going to be easier, when indeed it wasn't easier, because we had so much cleanup and so much sustaining to do that I don't know if any of us can continue on in the same way. I know I can't. But it's not all doom and gloom, even though when things seem so dark. The quote that I picked for this week between December 19th and 25th, was written by an unknown person, a victim of the concentration camps in World War II. And this was found on a wall in a cellar, written by a Jewish person who was interned at the Cologne concentration camp. And this person writes, "I believe in the sun, even when it's not shining." And I feel that this is such a poignant quote for all of us as we are feeling the pressures of the unknowns, and just like everything that we are holding on to at this moment in time. If you are grieving for past loved ones, or if you're grieving for a part of your life that will never return, or if you're grieving for maybe some good things, for things that you have decided that you don't want, but there's still this grieving process. Let this week with our solstice, let us put all of that grief, all of that stress, all of the things that we don't want to bring with us into 22, let's put that in the proverbial cauldron. Sometimes I talk about another astrologer. Her name is Carolyn Casey, and she has an episode on the KPFA. It's a college radio in Berkeley, and she has a show called the Visionary Activist Show. And I was listening to her solstice episode last week, and it was so beautiful. Her and her guest, they were stirring the proverbial cauldron and they were putting all of the dark things. They were like throwing things in like colonialism and oppression, and they were throwing all of this into the cauldron so that they could like ladle out freedom and equity. And I just loved that vision of throwing into the cauldron all of the things that we don't want, so that this cauldron can alchemize with the solstice light, that glimmer of light that all of humanity looks forward to. And then we can ladle out for us all the things that we want in the future. So for this week, those of us that are in the Northern Hemisphere, we're experiencing really long nights of dark as we prepare to welcome in the light with our winter solstice. And this week is so poignant and potent and energetic because we are celebrating the past, the present, and the future, and really stretching ourselves to find the things that we are grateful for, even when things feel so difficult. So I hope you are winding down with this potent time of year with your closest loved ones. We can't spend the time with all of our loved ones that we thought we could. But remember that with all of the energies that are coming on this week, that you can choose who you want to invest your time with and spend time with those that you love and trust the most. And so I want to talk about some of the big things that are happening this week that are really culminating with this solstice. So let's talk about this Venus retrograde, because I know you have a lot of questions. I posted in my free Facebook group, the Savvy Luminary, as well as on Instagram, if anybody had questions about this Venus retrograde. And oh gosh, there were so many questions. So Venus retrograde, ending out the year. So Venus will be shifting gears on the 19th. That's on Sunday. She'll be shifting gears exactly 2:36 a.m. Pacific, 5:36 a.m. Eastern. And we can kind of feel that shift right now, as Venus is really moving slowly through the zodiac right now. And so she's stopping at that point at Capricorn of 26 degrees, right? Cozying up next to Pluto. And so this Venus retrograde in Capricorn, we're exploring the theme of revaluing your powerful investments and co-creators. So this is all about revaluing money, and relationships. But in Capricorn, this is all about long-term longevity, for the long haul, for expertise and mastery, and for really accomplishing all of those big goals, those big challenges that you set out to. Venus retrograde, this whole theme, she's really asking us to realign our values, realign our connections, and realign our money, our worthiness, our ability to invest, our ability to spend, our ability to earn. And in Capricorn, Venus is going to make us go back and look at all our values, all of our relationships, all of the resources that we need to build out our goals, right? Capricorn, systems, goals, achievements. So this time, let's reflect and go forth. Venus is the rarest retrograde of all of the planets, inner planets, personal planets, outer planets, all of the planets. Venus goes in the retrograde motion the least out of all of the planets around in our solar system. She goes in reverse about once every 19 months. And the last time we had this reversal of Venus was back in May through July of 2020. And this time she travels back from December 19th until January 29th. You know that as a personal planet, we intimately feel her, similar to Mercury retrograde in her effects, but thankfully with less glitches, tech glitches. Now, when we look forward to January and our first Mercury retrograde, we're going to have both Mercury and Venus in retrograde at the same time in January. So woohoo, we have something to look forward to. When Venus is in retrograde, we get to work with her energy to re-examine our relationships, re-evaluate our money, redefine our values, and reconnect with our most potent co-creators and our communities. And so you can see how this applies not only in your personal life, but also in your business life, because relationship and money and values and community, I mean, that is what our business is built on. So in Capricorn, this relationship and money revaluation is about finding your people and connections over a shared goal of powerful impact. The reason I talk about power collaborators, or if you can think about like who would you want to be in your like power couple or like your power like cadre or something, I talk about that because Venus and Pluto will be really, really dancing together throughout this whole retrograde cycle. So Venus and Pluto already met up a couple of weeks ago on December 11th, which happened to be my anniversary. Yay, power couple. No, I was kidding. And they're going to meet up again exactly on Christmas. And then when Venus is moving out of the shadow zone, she's going to meet up with Pluto on March 3rd. And so this combination of Venus dancing with Pluto is really showing you the potency of collaborating with the right people. And what does that mean, the right people? In Capricorn, the right people are people that have shared goals, something that they want to build together. These are people that are open and honest, who everybody has been doing their own healing work because, of course, entrepreneurship is a healing journey, essentially, because we're being made to face all of our money fears, our people fears, like all of the fears and things that you have in your life come to full fruition when you're running a business. And it's beautiful how we can see this Venus-Pluto interacting, saying, hey, honey, if we're really going to be serious about our entrepreneurship journey and like wondering how can we attain success in this way that is aligned with ease and flow, we have to heal all of our relationship and our money wounds so that we can become that power couple, that power collaborator that I know we all have in us. So now during a Venus retrograde, there aren't like a whole list of do's and don'ts like Mercury retrograde, but just know that in a Venus retrograde, when we're dealing with money and relationships, when Venus is going backwards, it's not exactly a good time to make impulsive luxury purchases or get into flings. That would really kind of actually suck for Venus retrograde in alignment with Pluto in Capricorn, because the Venus retrograde and Pluto, and Venus and Pluto are together. Like if you have Venus Pluto like natally on your chart already, you are like dynamic and magnetic. And so there's this certain like je ne sais quoi that Venus Pluto people have, but it can also be really deceiving. And so if you're like, looking for like a romantic fling, I get worried that if with Venus retrograde with Pluto, that these flings can, a lot of secrecy or a lot of manipulation can happen with Pluto involved. Okay. Now, also with Venus retrogrades, oftentimes we are re-examining relationships. We might be on the brink of breaking up a relationship, or we might be on the brink of starting a relationship. So if you find yourself in this kind of like gray area of relationships right now, if a breakup with your relationships, and this is about money too, relationships to people and your money, if these breakups with relationships and money seem to be on the horizon, instead of just making any rash decisions right now, use this time to re-examine. Honestly, take your time and hold off on taking concrete action until after this retrograde is over. And you may have new realizations when it comes to connection and money. Now, in terms of like making big investments with this Venus retrograde, if you've been sitting on an idea for a long time, like sitting on something to make an investment that has started before this Venus retrograde, and then during the retrograde, you reconsidered and you reevaluated, and you're like, yes, this is totally for me. This is a really good time to make those long-term investments. Okay. Again, not a good time to just like make impulsive purchases, but it is a good time with that Capricorn long-term investments, as long as you already really thought it through. And this is kind of a culmination period. Now, if you're just starting, like you're like during this Venus retrograde and all of a sudden you're like, okay, I'm going to buy a house. I have the money. I can do it. Let's go buy a house. Probably wait until after the Venus retrograde is over. So going back over the schedule with this Venus retrograde, it entered the shadow zone back on the 18th of November. Then today on the 19th, December 19th, Venus will come to a complete stop and reverse at that point of Capricorn of 26 degrees. We'll have our midpoint right at the beginning, the beginning of the second week of January on January 8th, where that midpoint, that combust, a full valuation of like what is like now evident with your money and your relationship, long-term money relationship goals, that will come to a full illumination on the January 8th. And then Venus will come to a stop to go back forward on January 29th. And she'll be cruising through Capricorn. She's going to be in Capricorn a really long time this season. And so Venus will not leave the shadow zone until March 2nd of 2022. And she's going to still stay in Capricorn for another week before she finally moves out of Capricorn and into optimistic. Optimistic is Aquarius optimistic, and maybe forward thinking Aquarius. So as Venus dances through and back and forth and back and forth, as she's highlighting this one area of our charts between Capricorn of 26 degrees back to Capricorn of 11 degrees. So look at your natal chart and look and discover that place of Capricorn, that 15-degree area of Capricorn between Capricorn 11 degrees and 26 degrees. During that time, Venus will be dancing with the Mercury and Mercury retrograde. And so they'll be kind of dancing together, kind of like a do-si-do, 2 by 2 Mercury retrograde from January 14th through the 28th. And then Venus will be sextiling Neptune on January 5th and February 24th, which will add a little bit of love, and it'll feel much lighter than the rest of the Venus retrograde. And then, of course, Venus dancing with Pluto this entire time. So what does this all mean for you? So when you're thinking about your business, and even if in your life, your work and your life, you're really reconsidering what your values are and what your relationship ideals. These will all be magnified as Venus is having you evaluate, revalue, seeing where you want to reconsider so that maybe you can dismantle partnerships and money investments that are, and that powers that aren't balanced, or see where your values have shifted and where your money and your relationships have to shift, have to change to keep up with what you now value. Since we've gone through so many changes over the last year and a half, I'm sure that you have different values like mental health, more free time, more time with your closest loved ones, less overworking. Like those are some big shifts that we've had in a couple of years. So making sure that your money and your power dynamics are really matching all of those changes in your values. Because over the next 5 weeks, we're going to be revealing any hidden truths or secrets in your unbalanced partnerships or investments so that you can transform it with the power of Pluto into something much more potent. So the questions that I got from my my lovely luminaries in the Savvy Luminary Facebook group, as well as Instagram, some brilliant questions. So Karen asks from the Savvy Luminary, she wanted to know how Venus influences our beliefs and our ways of making money. And of course, making money and getting over your worthiness mindset issues is a huge part of becoming an entrepreneur and running your own business, because the way that you feel about money will impact the way that you promote your value or see yourself as providing value. It'll impact how you price and how you charge. It'll also impact whether or not you can actually receive money. I know in the very beginning of my business, I hated invoicing people. I felt so bad for invoicing people, even though I had already done the work. I'm sure some of you can relate. And it took a lot of worthiness work. And I'm always still continuously stretching myself in this worthiness respect, even though my business coach likes to remind me that I am currently sought after. And I have clients always telling me that I am a big deal. And yet I still feel like, oh my gosh, I can't possibly charge that much. So we're always pushing those bounds around that kind of money mindset and worthiness. And this Venus retrograde is such an amazing time to reevaluate what are your beliefs. Okay. And so Venus in our chart, right? So we have our big three, our sun, moon, and our rising. And those are our primary fundamental energies in our natal chart that everything else serves. And so it's not to say that Venus or Mercury or Mars, our personal planets, don't have a lot of influence, but they are all in service to our sun, moon, rising. Remember that first and foremost. So even though you have this, and if your Venus is near your sun, moon, or rising, if they're really close, like by conjunction or anything like that, then Venus has an even more influence on your natal chart. But Venus's role in our chart is to bring things together, to join, to union, to connect. That is her gift, the gift of connection. Whether it is connecting to the physical resources that we need to feel luxurious and to survive and to thrive and to feel beautiful, or the people that we need in our lives and the relationships that we have to thrive. So Venus, money, and relationships. And so you can see how Venus has a lot to do with worthiness. And so her role in our charts will be flavored by the sign that she is in, of course, the house that she is in, as well as any aspects that she has. And so understanding the role of Venus and her energies and how she expresses that can give you insight as to what you value and what you value in not only money or relationships. So for example, I don't have time to go through all of the Venus signs right now, but maybe in the new year, I'll go through all of the different planets. Maybe I'll do that. That sounds fun. So Venus, speaking from, because we're in Capricorn season, And Venus is in Capricorn right now, and she'll be dancing back and forth in Capricorn. For those of us that have Venus in Capricorn, we really value work. We value a good work ethic. We value sustainability. We value tenacity and looking at things for kind of like the long term. I noticed that my Venus in Capricorn clients, they are closest with the people who in their work environments. So for example, I think I mentioned that I have Venus in Capricorn. And for me personally, in my personal life, I look at Venus and I know that in terms of like traditional relationships, I value long-term relationships. I value certain traditional aspects of relationships. Even though I'm an Aquarius and I'm not always traditional, but my Venus, there's certain things that I value very like loving traditional things. In my business with Venus, I value and I connect with other people over projects. Like some of my closest business besties, we work together all the time on different long-term projects, whether or not they're just like client relationships, like longtime collaborators, like with Natalie Miller, who we're currently co-authoring new and full moon rituals for entrepreneurs, or another long-term collaborator, Asha Frost, where we together are trying to build a world and entrepreneurial journeys that are based on reciprocity and kindness. And so for you, when you're thinking about your Venus, look to her sign and ask yourself, what of that archetype, of that zodiac sign, can you see? What do you value in others? What do you value around money? And so Venus, again, going back to Karen's question about how can we use our own Venus around how we make money, is like when we know what we value, then we know what to invest in. And Venus is one of those keys. If I were giving an astrobrand reading about worthiness and money and those kinds of issues, I would actually be looking to the second house cusp, the sign that lives on the second house cusp. I would be using Venus more to see where Libra and Taurus are in the chart and seeing how Venus is directing her information. But that's a little bit more technical. So forgive me if I just confused y'all. But going back to your Venus, look at her sign and start to discover what you value and see how you can work in terms of that worthiness, about like, how can you build up your worthiness to invest in yourself through that Venus signs lens. So Shannon and Delina had a similar question because they both have Venus retrograde in their birth chart. So like I said earlier, when I was talking about Venus retrograde, Venus is the planet that spends the least amount of time in retrograde. So if you happen to be a lucky holder of a Venus retrograde in your own natal chart, you are one of a few. Only about 9% of the people have a Venus retrograde in your chart. And when we have a Venus retrograde in our chart, because Venus retrograde is about reevaluating, if you have that energy natally in your chart, what you value tends to be a little bit out of the ordinary. So for example, if you are a femme person and you shave your head, which is very atraditional because we think about femininity and hair, but you might find women with shaved heads really, really beautiful. That could be a possible interpretation of a Venus retrograde because you are attracted to or you value things that are out of the ordinary. So there's no good or bad judgments if somebody is born with a Venus retrograde. It just informs us that what people with Venus in retrograde appreciate and value in terms of money or relationships are a little bit out of the ordinary and not as traditional. Now, Delina had an extra question on top of her Venus retrograde because now she said her Venus is also intercepted. And so in the archetype conversations that I've been having over the last year, when I'm going through cycling through all of the zodiac signs and talking about the archetypes, one of the things that I've been really opening up to is this idea of reframing wounds. And so, generally, with an interception, what an interception means is that there is a zodiac sign in your natal chart in a quadrant based house system where there is no doorway into that sign. And hence, it's called intercepted. And it doesn't mean that it's not accessible. It just means that you have to go to the previous sign's doorway, the cusp, to enter into that Venus. And so, Delina, you didn't. I didn't get which sign your Venus retrograde was intercepted in, but all it means is that sometimes not only are your attractions and your values out of the ordinary with that Venus retrograde, but sometimes you have a challenge with even being able to tap into what you like, what you don't like, what you value, what you are attracted to, what you want to bring more of and connect to in your life. And so if you find that that is a struggle of yours to sometimes feel that sense of attraction and really knowing what you want, you have to go through that previous sign to tap into that ability of attraction. So this could even be something like maybe you are a late bloomer in terms of relationships, or relationships that you really want sometimes feel out of reach, or money things. There could be so many things that that an intercepted Venus could possibly not prevent you from, but make you go an extra step in order to access it. Now, once you learn that secret doorway in order to access your Venus retrograde, then you have this hidden gift that you have uncovered that you were always value, because you know that you worked so hard to be able to learn how to access that. Okay, Delina. So I wonder how that Venus retrograde intercepted, it works out for you in your life and your business. I would love to know. And then Rita on Instagram, she wanted to know about Venus retrograde placements for this Venus retrograde. Ooh, such a good question. And so again, remember when we're thinking about Venus retrograde, earlier I asked you to dig out your chart and look at that area between Capricorn of 11 degrees and 26 degrees, because it's this place where Venus is going to go back and forth 3 times. And so if you have natal planets in that area, or angles like your rising, your midheaven in that area of Capricorn 11 degrees to 26 degrees, as Venus goes back and forth, she's going to be like, oh, I need to revalue my emotions if your moon is there, or, oh, I need to revalue what I do and how I value what I do that is so unique if your sun is there. And all the other planets, they'll have a voice. If Venus comes by, she's like, oh, let's revalue our communications if Mercury is there, and so forth. But by house shows us where we need to revalue our commitments and how we invest in long-term goals and long-term relationships. So of course, wherever you have Capricorn in your chart is that part of your business where you need to be looking for the duration and putting in work that will build out mastery and expertise and authority. And so if this Venus retrograde is going to be going through your first house, you'd be looking at your leadership and your identity and your role in your business, and like thinking about your brand in your business. If Venus is going through your second house during this retrograde, it's even more about rethinking and revaluing your money and your values. If Venus is going through your third house, you're talking about your communications and your marketing and how you are sharing information in your business. If this Venus retrograde is going through your fourth house, you're really thinking about your home base and the safe belonging and communities that you create through your business. Fifth house, you're reevaluating how you bring in play and pleasure in your business. Sixth house, the health and routines of your business. Seventh house, all of your collaborators, your co-creators, your relationships, your customers. Eighth house, deep healing, deep inner work, but also shared resources. Okay. So if you're already in a long-term relationship, looking at the resources that the two of you are cultivating together, how you need to revalue that. Probably maybe some also like moving, like how you want to reinvest and your new strategies for leveraging investments as well as debts. Ninth house, your long-term goals for increased visibility in your business. 10th house, how you're delivering on your ultimate mission as the expert and the authority figure in your world. 11th house, how you're calling in all of your with social impact, all of your friends and your wider networks of real go-getters. And then 12th house, if you have Venus retrograde going through your 12th house, time to relax a bit. Time to do some deep restoration in your bones. Okay. So Rita, everybody, I hope that kind of gives you a little bit more hint as Venus retrograde is through the houses and how that gives you more specificity in like what area of your life and your business wants that revaluation. And so Rita also asked, does this mean that during the Venus retrograde, do relationships dissolve and change and new relationships come through? And Rita, I think I answered that in the very beginning. Yes, for sure. Relationships are being put under a magnifying glass right now and being asked to distill. So things dissolving, changing, such great words to really express what is happening, because Venus in Capricorn, Pluto there also, transformation has to happen. New relationships come through, just they don't commit too soon. Wait till the Venus retrograde and Venus is even out of the shadow zone before you commit to this new relationship, because sometimes with that Venus Pluto thing, there could be some secrecy, there could be some manipulation that you really want all the facts. So even for those of us who are looking for some love this holiday season, just be careful. Do not commit too fast. Okay. Just rein it in a little bit. Okay. I know everybody's looking for some love. Okay. On the 21st, we have the sun entering Capricorn. And when the sun enters Capricorn, a cardinal sign, cardinals like to start things. It is the solstice. This happens on the 21st at 7:59 a.m. Pacific, 10:59 a.m. Eastern. Return to light. So I don't know if you've heard, but on the solstice, I am co-hosting an amazing solstice ceremony with the one and only Colette Baron-Reid. I am still in awe and I'm so freaking excited and nervous and all the things about this upcoming solstice. But she and I have some amazing things planned. We're going to be doing a crystal ceremony. We're going to be talking about astrology. I'll be offering some mantras and some affirmations for you so that you can leave all those things in the dark and make room for the light. It's going to be so beautiful. If you want to register for that free event, head on over to Colette Baron-Reid's website to sign up for free, or you can always head on over to my Instagram account and go to my link in bio to sign up for that free winter solstice ceremony. Just like pinch me. Like I'm just so excited to share the stage with her. So back to sun in Capricorn with our solstice. So when the sun enters the cardinal sign of Capricorn, we welcome in the solstice. In the northern hemisphere, we welcome the return of sunlight. And in the southern hemisphere, we welcome in the growing darkness. This seasonal initiation is potent regardless of which hemisphere you reside in. First of all, as the sun crosses that zero degree cardinal threshold, it marks a place of extremes. The ancients would patiently wait for this day to celebrate the sun ending the season of dark nights. In your business for Solstice 2021, make it a time of reflection. Yes, there's a lot to do with preparing for the holidays, but I urge you to carve out some quiet time with a candle and a cozy space to ground. If you're watching on the video, you might notice that I have my winter solstice candle created by the one and only Asher Frost. I love this candle and it does really ground me with some frankincense and cedar wood. So spend some time in your own body, feeling into your bones, feeling your feet extending into the earth, feeling your own sense of self-responsibility that you have cultivated in 2021. On the day of the solstice, the moon will be in Cancer. Mars and Chiron want you to reflect on how you can make peace with past hurts, whether directly in your business or in your personal life. These are impacting how you make decisions and take actions in your business. And it's time to recognize the gifts that have come from these past hurts. And Venus in retrograde, still cozying up this solstice, and they want you to reflect all your impactful relationships in your life and your business. Those relationships that empower each other, that feel truthful and safe. Lastly, Saturn and Uranus. I'll be talking about that next, which has been in effect all year, has a say in this solstice and wants you to reflect on how sustainable of a life and business have you created. Have you been resting as much as you've been working? I have not. So the solstice, again, I invite you to join Colette, Baron-Reid, and me for a solstice ceremony. It is just going to be so beautiful and amazing. And it feels like such a highlight of my career so far to be able to get to share the stage with her. On the 23rd, 2 days before Christmas, if you celebrate Christmas, Saturn squares with Uranus. Oh my gosh. Honestly, we're feeling this. We haven't stopped feeling this all year, but this exact meetup, we've had 3 exact meetups in 2021. And this third exact meetup happens at 11:17 p.m. Pacific, 2:17 a.m. the next morning, where we're still innovating sustainability. And I don't know, everything is broken right now. So I guess we have to create it new. So way back when I was writing this, I was asking, what outdated social and systemic structures in your business are you now dismantling? And this signature that has defined all of 2021 has our 3rd exact square off today. And when Saturn and Uranus meet, it's about evolving systems and structures that hold society together. When they square off, there is an inner understanding and a collective psychological breakthrough that leads to system disruption. Oh my God, system disruption. Just take a look at everything that is broken in the world right now, in your country right now, in your neighborhood, in your family, in your work. Oh my goodness. I've seen so many businesses, start to begin to say, no, we're only going to do a 4-day work week this year. Or, hey, you have unlimited mental health time to really take care of things. This is the type of innovation that we needed. But why did we have to break things? Why did we have to come to the brink before we started to make these big changes? And so with the big work that we as humanity are facing is a 3-step process where we are at the 3rd step. So back in February, so remember back all the way of 10 months ago, on a collective level, we noticed how broken our society really is. On a personal level, you saw what you have built is not sustainable or equitable. And in the summertime in June, we saw exactly what needed integration and repair in our life and our business. And maybe like me, I didn't have all the answers yet, but you had kind of a direction in which you wanted to start to clear the path. Now, step 3, where we will act on what we need to rebuild to create a just and equitable social structure. Personally, you will have the clarity as to what you need to create your just and sustainable business. So what have you discovered about your business and how to make it more equitable and socially sound? What have you learned about the outdated cultural systems that you need to break free from? If those questions feel too big and out there for you, come back to your day-to-day. Are you resting as much as you work? To overwork is an outdated systemic fallacy. Are you speaking up when you need to? To stay silent is a systemic tool to oppress. Are you still using high pressure marketing tactics? Yep, sorry to pop your bubble, but that's another capitalistic system masked as just doing business. Time to break free. Okay, now just want to let you know that in 2022, we are not done with this Saturn square Uranus. So if you're not already unpacking your boxes, we're going to have time almost all next year, especially looking forward to October 2022, where Saturn and Uranus won't exactly meet, but they are close enough to be in that kind of that energy. I call it an orb. We are not done with breaking down those boxes. We have a lot of cleanup left to do. Okay, back to the forecast. On Christmas, we have Venus joining in Pluto at Capricorn of 25 degrees. 4:02 a.m. Pacific, 7:02 a.m. Eastern, where love and goodwill will intensify. And Merry Christmas to all those that celebrate. New realizations about your most intimate relationships are here. We have our second meetup of 3 in 2021 of Venus and Pluto today. Earlier in the month, you started to notice the impact of your most powerful relationships. Today, although it's Christmas, your feelings may run intensely and you may have a different perspective on the most important relationships in your life and business. Remember, Venus is your ability to attract the right people and resources in your business, and Pluto is your ability to empower, reveal, and transform. There's nothing to do today except for spend time with those you love the most and share how much you love them. This will be especially intense for cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, and especially loving for earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. All right, luminaries, that was a long one. There was so much information to share. And so thank you for sticking with me all of this way. I'd just like to thank you for being here, for sharing my episodes, for loving and absorbing all of this astro star wisdom. I am so grateful to all of the listeners. And for those of you that have already taken advantage of my year-end offer, 2022 in the stars, it is still available. These are a toolkit, a bundle of a lot of strategic tools so that you can learn to work with the energy. I've not only created like digital tools and some printable tools, but there's also some trainings and different packages have one-on-one access to me. What has been the most thrilling about offering it the second year and up leveling and putting all of my favorite things into a bundle is that how people are so drawn to the higher editions of these bundles that include one-on-one support. I'm really excited to get to work with all of you and to dig into your charts to help guide you to your best 2022. All right, luminaries, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So much love, abundance, blessings, and joy during this pretty intense week. Happy holidays, happy solstice. May you celebrate bringing in more light into your life. If you love this podcast, please consider doing me a favor and heading over to Apple iTunes and leaving me a rating and review. Your rating and review helps this humble podcast get seen and found by more listeners like you. Please share the love.